I'm Jenna, and today I have Tim with me from Hanes, and today we are going to be talking about concerts and music festivals and really gearing up to be able to approach that market and be successful in heat printing apparel. Now, Tim, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thanks, Jenna. Thanks, STAHLS, for having us today. I'm Tim Gibson. I'm Director of Sales for the field sales for the printwear channel of Hanes. So all four of our brands, Hanes, Champion, Comfort Wash, and Alternative Apparel.
Awesome. And we're super excited to have you here today because one thing that we always get questioned on is where to source the best apparel. So it's great to be able to have an expert in that field on with us today, especially when it comes to this topic, because whenever you are printing at events, I feel like not only is the design what really catches the eye, but what makes someone really buy is the piece of apparel that design is on. Right. So hello, everybody. I see many of you commenting in. So while we're joining, we're just going to give you guys a brief overview of everything that we're going to cover today. And then we're going to launch some poll questions. We want to hear from you guys, see what you guys are doing, maybe some events that you might be gearing up for. If you're not printing for events, what events do you want to print for? So we're going to launch some of those poll questions that will help us really tailor this presentation to you specifically. So really what we want to hone in on today is, yes, the focus is concerts and music festivals, because I feel like we're all just really excited to get back to those. We've been missing those for a long time now. So that is one of those really exciting events that many people are looking forward to returning to. But events as a whole, sporting events, county fairs, regional events like fundraising or charity events, those things are all coming back up as the world is opening back up. So we are really focusing on events as a whole, and then really honing in on what apparel and what transfers is going to allow you to approach these events and this market successfully. So we'll talk about, the sales opportunities that you can take advantage of. We're going to review top apparel. That's why Tim is here. He's going to, tell you about the top apparel that you guys should be considering. I'm going to be talking about how you can heat print some of these popular styles. And then we'll discuss some additional items that you can consider just for add-on sales. Or something, unique that you can offer that maybe someone else is not. All right. So hello, everybody joining in. If you're just joining, we are getting ready to launch some poll questions. So we're going to go ahead and get that started. And the first poll that is going to generate, we just want to know, are you already printing custom apparel for events? This just will help us gauge who's with us today. If you're already printing for events, if you're not and you want to, you've come to the right place. We're going to talk about some best practices in getting started. And if you are already printing for events, what you should consider adding if you're not doing so already. All right. So numbers are coming in pretty equally. A lot of you aren't doing it yet and want to, but we do have a few of you that are doing some. All right. Looks like for the most part, many of you are not yet and do want to get started. All right. Let's go ahead with the next poll. What type of custom apparel are you sourcing? So what is, right? Yes. What are you sourcing? Where are you getting your blank apparel from? So we have Sanmar listed there, S&S Activewear, Jiffy Tees. Some folks are sourcing from Amazon, and then other that we may have missed. I would say for the most part, Tim, wouldn't you say that S&S Activewear and Sanmar are probably the two most popular wholesalers?
Yeah, and an alpha broder, I would put
Alpha
in.
Broder. Yeah, that's another good one.
You know, it's considered the big three with, you know, the most distribution across the country, and great partners for us as well. And Jiffy too. A lot of people, I feel like a lot of people use Jiffy that may not have, you know, been able to open up a traditional wholesale account. So Jiffy carries our full product line as well.
Awesome. All right, so it looks like for the most part, folks are using Sanmar, S&S Activewear, next in line, and then Jiffy Tees. And then we have some folks that are using other. Maybe that's Alpha Broder, since I totally skipped over them in that lineup.
There's a lot of them. A lot of good wholesalers out there.
All right. And next is, what blank apparel brands are you using for custom printing? So we have Alternative, Comfort Wash, Champion, Hanes, and other. Tim, what is your favorite?
I would say, gosh, my favorite out of our current collection, we have a lot of new stuff. So my favorite actually is the one I'm wearing now. This is our Eco Cozy Fleece from Alternative. So it's 100% cotton face. It's a really nice weight. It just takes all kinds of decorating very well. So DTG, traditional screen printing, transfers, just does very well with all kinds of different decorating mediums. Probably my favorite right now. I have quite a few, but this is the one I've been loving lately.
Yeah, I'll say between the brands listed there, it's a toss-up between Alternative and Champion, because I think that they serve kind of two different areas. But I really like Alternative for that like retail look, but then I love Champion for like the sporty look. So I those two are probably my favorite brands to choose from. All right, and the next poll, looks like most people are using Alternative as well. All right, and next poll is, what are you guys using a heat press to customize apparel? I feel like at this point, heat printing has just been so innovative overall as far as different transfers that you can use. It's being utilized for sublimation, direct to garment printing. So for folks that may not have gotten started with heat pressing, I feel like eventually they were just like, yeah, I'm going to add a heat press. It allows me to serve a lot of different markets now.
Yeah.
Right. So for the most part, we have a lot of folks customizing with a heat press. 94%. Awesome.
Wow. I mean, it really was the original print on demand was heat press, right? Before DTG technology. I mean, you could just do one, you know, back in the day, you could go in a store and say, I want that on that one shirt. And, and even now, you know, it's grown so much and the technology has gotten so much better. And I still think hot press is a wonderful, and the cost of entry is much lower than buying a big auto or a big DTG machine. So it's pretty amazing.
Right. Couldn't agree more. And I will say too, with the different sizes of heat presses that are out there, it makes it really easy to just take it with you if you want to print on demand at the event, and kind of show folks how you're doing the printing. All right. And the last poll that we have for you guys, what is your go-to heat transfer for custom printing blank apparel? We have heat transfer vinyl, screen printed transfers, digital transfers. All right, looks like for the most part, everyone is using heat transfer vinyl. I am a fan of heat transfer vinyl. I like just being able to load a design up real quick on my vinyl cutter and cut it. But screen printing definitely helps with some of those large run orders that I do not want to have to cut and weed vinyl for. Now, Tim, you mentioned that you have a heat press. What are some of the heat transfers that you prefer using?
I mean, I do a lot of customization. I just do some stuff locally here in Austin for bands, for some of my favorite music venues and things like that. So I use vinyl for the most part. I like water-based. I do a lot of like custom neck hits, things like that I do for people. And I would say vinyl's the quickest, easiest, and user-friendly, but there's so many great, as you'll demonstrate, I'm sure. I like a lot of the 3D.
Oh, I know. It's the dimensional stuff has just been so popular. Anything that just like elevates the design on a basic t-shirt, I mean, you just can't go wrong with it, and you can yield a higher profit opportunity with it. So it's a win-win, right?
Yeah, especially the tonal. Love the tonal stuff, like that I'm seeing a lot in retail, like Scotch and Soda. I think I saw they did a really cool tonal, just one simple color on like a bright blue shirt. It looked amazing.
Mm-hmm. Right, so we have mostly everyone using heat transfer vinyl. Screen print transfers come in second, and digital transfers coming in third. All right, well, thank you guys so much for participating in the polls. We do have a lot of comments coming in. If any of you happen to have any questions, feel free to just enter that in the chat box. We will be sure to get to your questions throughout, and then we will save some time at the end to make sure we did not miss any. We do have Stacy on with us. She is our all things webinar guru, and she'll be here commenting and answering any questions that you guys have in the chat box as well. So with that, all being said, and just kind of discussing what all you are doing, let's go ahead and dive into the discussion for today. So the first thing that Tim and I really wanted to review with you guys is selling at events and what some of those best practices look like, because we can talk to you about apparel, we can give you the answers for what heat transfers that you have, but ultimately you want to make sure that you are preparing yourself and setting yourself up for success whenever you go to these events. So one thing that always comes to mind whenever I go to an event and I see a vendor there, the first thing that's going to catch my eye is how they are presenting their merchandise. So Tim, you kind of spoke to this a little bit, and whenever we met, it needs to be out in front of you so that people can feel and touch it. So do you want to speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much any concert you go to, a lot of the times it's just in the back, there's a table, there's a bunch of boxes with sizes, and you can't really touch and feel the garment, and although the art is kind of what sells the shirt, people still, they want to feel, retail, some people charge $80 for a t-shirt or for a hoodie, and if they can't feel it, then they're less likely to purchase, right? So I think, having your stuff up front where people can at least touch it, look at it, is really important. And besides, that's just one way that you can be creative as far as how you merchandise. You can pre-sell. You can pre-sell on apps. You can partner with the artist or the venue on like a song download, and then you get your merch with that purchase. So I've seen that too, like where people have already decided what shirt they want, and they just go up and get it, and they've already pre-ordered it, which is, I think, is really smart, and it saves a lot of the time in line as well.
Yeah, I agree. I would say using, online to your benefit to be able to push or promote your products even more, because I will say events get busy, and not everybody there, the first thing they think about is, I need to go get a t-shirt, right? They're thinking about going and listening to the music and enjoying the time with their friends or family. So another thing that you guys would want to consider is not only how you are presenting your apparel at your table or in your booth or however it may be set up, but you also want to consider your promotion and display. So being able to promote online, like Tim said, is very beneficial. You guys can incorporate that link where people are purchasing their tickets and things like that. But also you want to make sure that people know where to find you when they're there.
Yeah, that's big.
Yeah, and we all have the capabilities to make some signage. If you have a vinyl cutter, cut some decals, put it on a sign, make sure people know where to find you, and you are, building promotion and signage and getting some display out there so people know exactly where to find you. And then whenever it comes down to the customer finding you, then you want to consider what type of merch that you're actually using to promote the event or print for the event, right? So you want to definitely consider, what are some of the things that are going to serve some price conscious customers that don't necessarily want to pay $25 or $30 for t-shirts. Maybe they just want a small little takeaway. So we will get into accessories and things like that. But as far as apparel goes, you want to consider, your cost in your t-shirts, what style of t-shirts that you are offering. Heavy cotton may be a trend for certain markets, but for the most part, people are looking for something that's lightweight and comfortable to wear. So your standard 100% cotton Gildan tees aren't necessarily the answer there, but something a little more soft hand, like the Comfort Wash products that we're going to be reviewing for you today, will be a little bit better. Still at a great price point, but definitely going to serve the purpose that the wearer wants, and that being comfortability. So what type of apparel do you see trending, Tim, whenever you're at these concerts or maybe serving this market?
Yeah, and I think you called something out that's really important to think about is your demographic and where the concert is as much a part of the garment selection as is, anything else. So, if you're on the East Coast with colder weather or hotter weather in Florida or something like that, I mean, that's something to think about before you produce the merch, right? So I think keeping it simple is the best idea, having like a good, better, best, to your point. You do a basic tee, then you do something elevated, and then some fleece, and keeping your colors to a minimum. You don't want to go crazy with color. You want to have some pop color. And we're seeing a lot of that as far as trends, to speak on that. I mean, we've got just in the GDH 100, we've got over 33 colors now in just in that collection. And so seeing a lot of poppy colors, a lot of vintage fabrics, obviously in the concert space. So merch is really elevated. It's not just that basic black tee with a white bulletproof screen print anymore. It's
right.
Definitely more retail inspired. So we're seeing a lot of uptrend, especially in that vintage line in the Comfort Wash. So and yeah, like I said, keeping the silhouettes to a minimum. Don't have 12 different silhouettes and
right.
Because then you're spending all that time trying to find them and dig them out of a box, and even the time that it takes to do the transaction nowadays. You have to be quick. Like you said, there's people in line, and if you're fumbling with your square or, you know what I mean? Like people will just leave. Right. You lose. So yeah, trending wise is definitely vintage. And, it's interesting. We have a certain artist, Billie Eilish, that is using Hanes brand, which is awesome, on her Amazon exclusive collection that she's selling now. And so yeah, just a lot of throwback, a lot of vintage type stuff. And Champion obviously has been well received with that Gen Z customer, and everybody for that matter, which is interesting. I was on a plane recently, and I counted probably 15 people that got on the plane that were all wearing Champion. I was like, yeah. But it was just interesting to see, from the toddler all the way to the mom and dad were all rocking Champion gear, and so it's interesting to see how it's crossing over into to genres and age groups.
Yeah, no, and I want to go back to one thing that you said, because I want to make sure everybody heard this, because this can be your next sales pitch, guys. Billie Eilish is using Hanes for her apparel. So if you are ever going to a concert or a music festival and you want to be the printer for that event, and you have access to Hanes, all you have to do is use that in your sales pitch. So that is big. That's big for custom printers.
Public knowledge.
Yeah. That's awesome. So take that into consideration, guys, whenever you're considering, how you are approaching what are other major players in the game utilizing, and how can you use that to your benefit so that you can also serve people in your area in that same way. So you did mention, Tim, that a lot of pop of color is trending a lot in this space. And you also mentioned not to offer too many silhouettes. So what major silhouettes would you consider being, the top ones that you would want to offer without giving your customer too much to choose from?
Yeah. I mean, number one's always going to be the short sleeve crew neck tee. That's always the top seller. Trending a lot lately has been crew neck fleece, and all the hoodies have been trending, and that's not going away. But just seeing a lot of crew neck fleece option. So that's been trending. So I would do a short sleeve tee. I would do a tank if it was summer for sure. I would probably do a men's and a ladies tank, and just keep it to 2 or 3 colors per, and a fleece. So again, it depends on the event, where it is, what the weather's going to be like. Long sleeve tees are also coming back in a big way. But yeah, the short sleeve tee never goes out of style, so that's like a must have. But yeah, keeping it simple, because there's so many beautiful silhouettes that a lot of brands make in our industry. And sometimes it's just too much, for that event goer to absorb all that in that 15 seconds they have to make a decision on what they're going to get. So, yeah.
Right. So I will say some of the best practices that I've seen of people that are doing events really well is they're offering probably about 4 different apparel styles and then a couple of accessories to tag along, whether that be a tote bag or a bandana. Yeah. Or a drinkware item where they're just, or even a sticker, something as simple as a sticker, just something that is an easy takeaway. And one of the other best practices that I've seen are they are selecting these apparel styles, and instead of having a different design for every single one, they'll use 2 to 3 designs and put that across all the different styles. So that way you're not getting into a crazy inventory issue where you have too much of one thing and not enough of the next.
Yeah, agreed. And it's always the design you don't think is going to sell the most that does, right?
Right.
Constantly, you're like, oh, I really like that one. And they're like, we didn't think that one was going to sell, but we sold out of it. So, yeah, you just never know. So that's a good point to keep the same art and make it work for all the colors you're offering, make it a design that works for both, brights and darks and lights. So.
All right. So you mentioned 3 of the items that we're actually going to be printing today. That's tees, tanks, and crew neck sweatshirts. So if you guys are wanting to go to an event and be able to offer 3 really popular styles that are going to resonate with a variety of clientele, these are definitely the 3 go-tos. So today we are going to be printing a tank top, and the crew neck sweatshirt. And then we'll be talking about some options that you guys can get for digital printing and full color printing. So one thing that comes to mind when I think events, and Tim mentioned this earlier, is whenever you're considering your print method, you want something to be on demand, and heat transfer is the quickest on-demand thing you can get. Now, whenever you go to events and you are printing high quantity, you want something that is going to be efficient and a quick turn. And in my mind, I immediately go to screen print transfers. So there are a variety of screen print solutions out there, but the transfers are going to allow you to get multiple designs in one by a method called gang sheeting. And it's just a really quick application at the heat press. So I'm going to demonstrate the first application using a Goof proof heat transfer. But before we do that, I do want to call out the garment that we're actually going to be printing and let Tim tell you a little bit about this. So this is the Comfort Wash tank. So do you want to speak to this a little bit?
Yeah. So that's our GDH 300. So it comes in 20 colors. It's a 5.2 ounce, I believe, small through 3X. So that is that style number there. We also make, which is somewhat new for us at Hanes, is we're making versions of this that are also in tearaway. So the GDH style still has the woven label, but we are producing styles in tearaway now, which is great for customizing neck kits, as we talked about earlier.
All right, awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and load this on the A to Z heat press. I'm going to get you guys up here nice and close so that you guys can see what I'm doing. All right, so the best practices for printing these styles is to get the print area completely flat. And we do that by a method called threading. So what I'm doing is opening the bottom of this garment and threading it on my platen so that I can get a nice flat print area here, which will allow me to also get a flat pressure, even pressure across the board. Now I am working with the A to Z heat press, which has a nice little swing away feature for my heating element here. And this is a 15 by 15 platen. Now, if I were to be working with a tote bag or a bandana, maybe I want to print some accessories, I do have the ability to interchange this platen with a smaller one to be able to isolate another print area, get any thick seams out of the way, because the key to a durable application when working with screen print transfers is to make sure you're at an accurate time, temperature, and pressure. And these platens allow you to get that even pressure to ensure that you are heat applying accurately. Now, I've just realized that my bottom platen is not locked in place here from interchanging it earlier. So I'm going to adjust that really quickly and lock that in place. All right, so there is a little pin at the bottom of the heat press that will lock that. And I can go ahead and just thread this right back on there. All right, so one popular placement, obviously, is a full front print. And one thing that Tim mentioned earlier as one of the trends for printing for music festivals and concerts is pop of color. So you can see we are using this nice lavender color tank top. And what I'm doing is pre-printing or pre-pressing this to release any moisture or wrinkles that could be in the fabric. Now, Tim, you can probably speak to this because this is something that we talk a little bit about whenever we talk about the importance of a pre-press. And one of those things is getting moisture out of the fabric. What causes the moisture to get into your 100% cotton apparel that we have to make sure we release that?
Well, I mean, a lot of it's just where it's stored, how long it's been stored at a specific DC. There's always going to be some form of residual moisture in the fabric. And I think, the pre-pressing also helps with fibrillation. You're getting those fibers pressed down nicely so you get a nice clean image. But yeah, a lot of it's just between the manufacturing process, the dyeing, or that particular line is all garment dyed. So there's a few different processes of water that happen, and sometimes there can be some moisture.
Good, really good to know. So then also, we've had questions on whether apparel will actually come with a spray on it that avoids it from wrinkling. Is that something that Comfort Wash does with their apparel?
A spray?
I don't know. So from time to time, people will ask about a spray or something that they'll put on the garment to keep it from wrinkling in shipping or in storing. I don't know. I thought maybe you would know more about that than I would.
Not something we use. I mean, there's another product category.
Okay.
We do for some other things, but that's more DTG related.
Gotcha. All right, cool.
No.
All right, so no worries about the spray on this apparel. All we really just need to do is prep the garment, get it nice and flat, release any moisture, and then we are ready for our print application. So the screen print solution that I'm using today is known as Goof Proof, and it's Transfer Express's top-selling plastisol ink transfer. You get great opacity with this ink. And what I want you guys to realize, because I know we have a lot of people with us today that are using heat transfer vinyl, is that screen print transfers realistically is just another form of screen print ink. I don't want you to confuse this with something that's not as durable. Now, not all screen print transfers are made equally, I will say that. But as for the Transfer Express plastisol ink solutions, they last 50 plus washes, which is technically the life of the garment at that point. Now, we also mentioned that distressing is another popular finish, vintage looks and styles. So you do have the ability to add distressed designs or distressed effects to your designs within that platform. And this was exactly created using EasyView Designer. I pulled templates and clip art in order to create this custom design. So we are just taking yellow and black plastisol ink. We're going to put this on the lavender tank top here. Before I place this down, what I want to do is make sure my pressure is up to par for this application. So Goof Proof does require a firm application, especially when working with the A to Z heat press. The A to Z heat press does have a pressure adjustment mechanism in it so that it can adjust pressure to just about anything that you're loading on this bottom platen. So I always ensure that I'm at a nice firm pressure whenever I am heat applying this particular screen print. I did apply this at the 325 degree application for 15 seconds. And it is a hot peel, so I can go ahead and remove that as soon as that is complete. And you'll see that all of the ink is transferred off of the transfer paper that the ink comes on. And our design is complete.
Wow.
Right? So really nice distressed effects in there. Like Tim mentioned earlier, any vintage effects that you can add to these styles of apparel will really go a long way and be a hot seller for you. All right, so really a simple application. Now, another popular thing that folks will do if they are going to an event and selling their apparel is they'll actually print on demand, which means that you actually are taking your heat press with you, setting up shop, and allowing folks to choose what design they want on what t-shirt. And that really comes down to the importance of making sure you have your merch selected without having too many options, and giving a selection of designs with also not having too many options, and letting the customer pick. As we're getting back into events, one thing that stands out is that we want to give people an experience. So if you guys can also provide your customers or those attendees of that event an experience, the more likely they are to purchase from you. So if you are going to be printing on demand, this is the best way to do it, being able to take blanks with you and have a box of transfers with you where you are just pulling those and printing them. This also helps with any leftover inventory that you may have. So we can't do a lot with printed apparel as far as leftover inventory goes unless we do a post-event sale. But if you have, just extra blanks left over, transfers that don't have dates on them, make sure you're making timeless types of transfers that you can reuse for that event maybe next year at a discounted price. Just keep all of these things in mind, what's going to make the most sense. I did see a comment come in earlier asking questions on kind of what to do with leftover inventory. Anything to add there, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit that one on the head, especially if you printed anything for 2020 pre February or March. Then there was a lot of stuff sitting that cannot be used if it has a date on it. So I think that's a good call out. And yeah, it takes a small footprint when you bring a hot press. You don't need a huge amount of space to do your events. And to your point, yeah, you can use those blanks for other events in the future instead of sitting on inventory. So I think that's a great call out. I will say that because that is plastisol you were saying in that transfer, that's correct, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that particular, that style, all that fabric actually in the jersey is garment time. So you're not going to get dye migration, which is something that does happen with plastisol screen printing. So that Comfort Wash line is great for plastisol and helping with any dye migration issues. So that's a good call out too.
And I will say, guys, having this garment in hand, it is just a great overall material. I have seen tank tops like this being printed or already printed at shirts, and or at events, and they always feel overly heavy. They feel like they're going to shrink immediately as soon as I put it through the wash cycle. And this is just a really nice, soft cotton. And you said that this is all USA made cotton, correct?
That's correct. All USA made. So there's definitely a sustainability story to be told there as far as water usage. And we're very proud that we support all US grown cotton in that line.
All right, so Tim, since you do some printing for events, what do you typically see a garment like this being sold for where it's just the full front print?
I mean, I think like $20 to $25 is a good sweet spot, depending on the event. Some people will, at least some of the live ones I've done, I share some of the profits with either the venue or a cause. Whether it be something like a fundraiser or something, so you have to take that into consideration about how you charge for the garment. But that's a good sweet spot, is in that 20 to 25 range. I've seen people sell lesser, quality garments for 15, but I think 20 is good, and 20 is easy, especially if people want to pay cash. It's that speed factor. Like, it's easy to just give them a 20 and. I've been to an event where somebody was charging like $18.50.
Yeah.
You really want to have to give somebody $1.50 back every time they give you a 20. So
right.
Again,
well, that's a good thing to take into consideration. That's something I would have not even thought of, just from not coming from that perspective, right? Never actually being at an event, selling face to face like that. I mean, that would be a headache in my mind. I would not want to have to deal with that. So that's a really good pointer there. Yeah. Now so let's say $20 for a full front tank top. We are going to add an additional print placement. So one popular way to add more profitability per the items that you're selling is to utilize the real estate of your blank garment and print another area of that garment. So another common print placement, of course, is the back of the garment. We see this a lot on t-shirts. We're going to do it on a tank today. So we're going to utilize, again, a goof proof, a same color and ink solution here. So we're just going to repeat that same exact step. All right, so I'm just going to place that down on my garment and make sure I get a nice firm pressure. Another common thing that I've seen to warrant a higher profit margin is actually customizing the city of the place that the concert is being held. Now, let me just call out what I'm doing here because I don't want anybody to get confused. I'm taking this cover sheet real quick and placing it on the back side of this. You do not have to use cover sheets for this, but I do have what looks like a print error on the back side of this where there looks like there's some ink here. So I don't want that to transfer to my upper heating element. So I'm just going to grab this and cover that one spot just to make sure that that's not transferring. All right. But you do not need to use a cover sheet with your screen print transfers. The release paper that is that the ink is actually laminated to acts as a cover sheet. So typically you would not need to do that. But back to what I was saying, another popular way to add some more profit opportunity to your custom designs is to add personalization or a unique feature that speaks more to the customer. So if I were offering this, and I'm actually going to heat press this one more time. Let's get this seam off of here because I didn't get even pressure. All right, so if I was going to a concert and I did not want to, or I have all those cities listed on the back of the shirt, but I want to point out which city I went to attend this concert, you can actually add a little star or some type of personalization that speaks to that customer that will allow you to yield a higher profit opportunity. All right, so no issue, just locking that right back down. If you ever notice that ink isn't adhering accurately, just put that release paper back down and reheat apply, and then your transfer will work just fine, still just as durable. All right, so this gives you an idea of some other, print opportunities to take advantage of whenever you are printing for events. Now, I want to hear from you guys. So we said if you print the full front of the tank top, we can sell that for $20. If you guys print the back side in addition to the front, what at that point do you think that this could sell for? All right, we want to talk a little bit about what profit opportunity you have in just printing and selling a tank top. All right, so we'll consider the transfer. So we're looking at about $2.25, about $4.50 in ink to print the shirt in total. And then what is the blank cost? Do you have that off the top of your head, Tim?
It's in the 4 range.
Okay.
Depending on the tank and the tee, just depends. But I'd love to hear too what people charge or what they have been able to get for double-sided, because traditionally I don't know if people think about that like as a selling point, both sides. So I would love to hear what everybody on the webinar today is getting for price.
All right, so as those comments come in, let's just consider, even if we did sell this for $25 and we're under, let's just put about $10 once we consider labor, overhead, the blank, and the ink, right? We're still looking at a $15 profit. Yeah. So keep that in mind. Keep all those things in mind whenever you guys are considering your blanks, what your print locations are, how much you're spending on transfers, what is your profit going to be whenever you sell these, right? So Anita says $30. She could get 26 to 28 by Patricia. Timothy says 25. So we're still looking at really great profit opportunities. So imagine printing just this garment at an event and how much profit you would end up with. Now, another thing, and I mentioned this because you want to make sure that you're considering this stuff in your costs, is you want to make sure you're paying yourself for the labor. You want to make sure you're paying for the overhead, because there are fees when it comes to setting up at events, especially if you're going to print at an event. Electrical comes into the conversation at that point. So just make sure you're thinking of all of these things if this is a serious thing that you guys do want to consider. All right, so we talked about Plastisol ink transfers and how well those pair with the Comfort Wash tank top. Now let's talk about some other print solutions that are also great options. Now, we mentioned heat transfer vinyl. There's a lot of you guys on here working with heat transfer vinyl, but if you want the most bang for your buck, you want to make sure that you are using something that's going to set you apart from everyone else. So there's a lot of different heat transfer vinyls out there. They all serve many purposes. STAHLS, for example, has a variety of heat transfer vinyls, but we do offer a lot of special effect so that you guys can increase the bottom line of, your good. And then also just to be able to set you apart from the competition, right? So one product that you guys may not have considered or looked at yet is the textured soft foam. So when we first launched soft foam, everyone loved it, feels great, has dimension, definitely can warrant a higher profit opportunity for it. So this textured option is actually going to give an even more, premium look and finish than the standard soft foam because it does have a textured pattern in it. Comes in a lot of really cool colors, and I think it really speaks to this market very well. So we are going to be printing that on the crew neck fleece. And while I get this loaded onto the heat press, Tim, why don't you go ahead and talk about some of the features of the crew neck fleece?
Yeah, that's our style GDH 400. It's 7.2 ounce. It's an 80/20, so it's a cotton poly, but it's very soft hand. Comes in about 18 colors now, I believe. Yep, small through 3X. So again, USA made cotton in the cotton portion of that garment. So another great choice.
All right. So whenever we are talking about fleece styles, they are really popular. I want to say fleece just below, your standard T-shirts. They're the next thing in line, what people are looking to buy whenever it comes to their favorite apparel to wear, right? So there's T-shirt, then there's fleece. As Tim mentioned, the crew neck styles are trending significantly. We see hoodies all the time. So whenever you're considering the blanks that you want to offer, switch it up from, your standard or have it in addition to, because crew necks are trending and they don't seem to be slowing down. We see it a lot. So being able to have a great print solution that is going to be durable and last for your customers, especially with these popular styles, and something that is going to match the premium look that the fleece style gives. So this is going to allow you to, get more profitability in one single piece, right? So again, this is textured soft foam. I'm just placing that down. We're just going to do actually, let's switch up our print location. So we did a full front. Let's go ahead and drop it down here. Give it a more retail inspired look. We're working with some really cool artwork courtesy of Stacy, who's on with us today. And what I'm going to do is just drop this and give it a unique print placement, just to switch it up a little bit and give you guys some inspiration on different things that you can do to offer something outside of the norm. Right, so I'm going to cover this with the cover sheet that I have here. We're just going to lock the press down. Now, this product typically will apply at 300 degrees for 10 to 15 seconds. I'm still at that goof proof setting because I don't want you guys to have to wait for me to time that down. But just know that this is a lower temp product. So whenever you are working with different styles of fleece that may be a little more heat sensitive, you know that you can drop the temp of this and you won't have any issue with compromising the overall look just to get the finished result of the heat transfer vinyl. Right, so unique placement over to the side. We have our textured soft foam there. So not only is it dimensional and really pairs so nicely with the fleece, but it also offers that texture to it that's just unique and allows you to, stand apart from your competition and be able to offer something a little different. This is really great for branding opportunities. So if you're ever working directly with an artist, with the band, whoever, maybe the person that's hosting the event. This is a great product for branding and logos. So take that into consideration. Yes, it reaches the masses, but if you ever want to just be able to maybe print polos for the band members or the team behind the band or whoever even is putting on the event, this is a really great product to offer. Tim, anything to add with that?
No, I mean, I think that looks great. And I love the use of color there. And yeah.
And I think fleece is another one of those, places where you can use that tone on tone application as well. So you mentioned that a little bit earlier. Just using something that kind of matches the color of the blank. It still has a really premium look to it.
Yeah. I like your use of placement. Too many people go with the standard, left chest back or front and don't really get creative as far as placement. There's so many great places you can decorate a garment that people just, and it stands out. It just looks elevated when you do something more unique like that. Yeah,
absolutely. All right, so if you guys are looking for full color solutions, stuff that is, more premium, then you have the option of Ultra Color Soft. So there are a lot of printable medias out there. I saw the question come in a little bit earlier in regards to what do I do if I have a full color design? Do I need to invest in an eco-solvent printer? Yes, that is always an option. If you know that you can get the return on investment, you're going to be doing a lot with that machine, then I say go for it. Is definitely worth it. And you can do a lot with it. But if you are not ready for that investment, transfers are the next best thing. All right. So you can get decent turns with these products. Ultra Color Soft is a water-based ink transfer available through Transfer Express that allows you to get full color without paying per color. So you're getting a water-based ink that is full color and feels amazing on apparel. All right, so that's definitely a really great option. And then, of course, your printable heat transfer vinyl. When we're talking about printing premium finishes and blanks like these comfort wash styles, we definitely want to lean more towards those premium finishes when it comes to transfer types. That's why we're talking plastisol ink, dimensional heat transfer vinyl, next level heat transfer vinyl, and of course, water-based full color transfers because they have that premium soft feel that pairs so nicely with these wonderful blanks. All right, so Timothy asks, is soft foam like puff? Puff? No. I haven't worked with the Puff heat transfer vinyl, but I have worked with Puff ink. Transfer Express actually has a Puff plastisol ink, and it just feels totally different. But foam does have the dimension, but it doesn't puff up, whereas it's more raised and flat as opposed to almost like a domed effect that Puff will give. All right, Stacey, are there any other questions that I may have looked over in the chat section?
Yes, there's a question for you, and then I do have a question for Tim. So we'll start with the STAHLS related question. Somebody asked earlier, I know we have our full color options for perma twill and texture twill. Is that something that somebody use, or do they only order it through our upload, like for the artwork uploader?
Okay, so you cut out on my end a little bit, but I think I understood the gist of the question. Just correct me if I don't answer this.
Okay, right. I can say it again if it keeps cutting out.
So you can get custom full color twill, texture twill, perma twill through us. It has a permanent adhesive on the back. All you need is a heat press. If you want to add embroidery, you can do that. If you want to do that in-house, it will require a sublimation printer and a laser cutter. that is the process that we use. You can order our permatwill with that adhesive on the back, and you can sublimate it yourself. However, you will need a laser cutter to contour cut that and burn the edges of it so that it does not fringe later. If you plan on embroidering with it, no worries. You can contour cut it with a vinyl cutter. But that is the easiest way to bring that in-house, is with sublimation and a laser cutter.
Okay, that's what yeah, no, it did. That's what I thought, because I remember the Twill products required the laser cut. And that's why I figured you probably could not do that on your own unless you invested in other tools. So that's good to know. And then this question is for Tim. I saw a few people asking about, how do you deal with copyright issues at an event? There were a lot of people who were interested in printing a band's name on shirts or something of that, to that degree, at a concert. So how do you go around for the permissions for like the copyright stuff?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, you need permission from the artist, right? Especially if it's a band specifically. All those things need to be worked out ahead of time. You know, you can't go to a certain festival and print that artwork on a garment for profit and sell it without permission. So, I mean, for anybody really, I mean, that's just, besides common courtesy and making sure the artist gets paid for their name and their trademark, it's very important from a legal standpoint to make sure that you've done all those things way before the event. But, it's usually just a matter of pay to play. So if you're, printing for a certain artist, they're going to expect a certain royalty on the sale of that garment. So, all those things need to be worked out ahead of time. Hopefully that answers that question.
Makes perfect sense. Yes, thank you. I'm trying to see if there was any other questions that had come in, but I think you guys answered everything.
All right, awesome. So while you guys may have other questions, go ahead and comment those in. One thing that I did want to review with you guys real quick, just to make an honorable mention of another option that you may have that I think can help you with selling after the event, to make sure that you are ridding of the extra inventory that you may have and just getting the most profit potential that you can from a single event. So pop-up stores and online stores are extremely popular. They're increasing in popularity, being able to customize stores specific to events, specific to artists, and being able to sell merch. So this gives you an example of the capabilities that you have. So this is through Spirit Sale. It is an online platform that allows you to pull garments and drop in designs to create mock-ups so that people can shop the merch that you were selling. All right, so this gives you an idea of what we've done for Mount Tourism Company, where they can just select what they want to purchase. They get a mock-up of what that is. They select their size, they select their color, and it is your typical checkout process like any other shopping platform. You can take it a step further and, set deadlines to kind of increase the importance of getting those orders in, and they'll more likely place their order when they see a store close date. And then if you're ever doing an event where you need to fundraise or raise money, like a charity or things like that, you can set the goal, and it'll give people an idea of where they're at in participating in that fundraiser. So you can allot a certain percentage per item of these garments, and that will be represented here once they purchase, how much of that money is going towards the overall fundraising goal. There is options in here to be able to personalize items. So if this is a feature that maybe you offered for, an additional opportunity maybe an additional $5, whatever it may be. So you can see here, this was a $5 charge to be able to add your name on the back. They would just type that in. So if I wanted to put Anna on the back, and then I wanted something on the front like Army Sister or something like that, that is related to the fundraiser, or whatever you may be setting the store up, where they can customize and add personalization. You have the ability to do that as well. So just keep this resource in mind, so that you guys know that you have this available to you to be able to sell some of those products that maybe didn't sell at the event. Consider buy one, get one opportunities, markdown prices, just to make sure that you are getting the most out of, the investment you made to be able to go to an event and print there or print for it. All right. Anything else to add, Tim, as we're wrapping up?
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for joining us. And, we as a company are just excited to be engaged in this kind of format. So we appreciate all your business, and hope to see you guys out there at concerts and festivals. I know myself, being a working musician, it's nice to be able to play out again, and it's nice to see faces out there. So yeah, that's about it. Appreciate the business and the engagement, and STAHLS for having us.
So do you want to serenade us while we sign off? You want to play something for us?
I'll just play a little, strum a little. How's that?
Oh, awesome.
Thanks for coming.
Yay! Thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you, Tim. That was amazing. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to reach out and we will be sure to follow up. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks again, Tim.